Alrighty, well, good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you're listening in from. Welcome, everyone, to the Public Practice Accountants Club on Clubhouse, where public practitioner, thought leaders, industry specialists, and accountants just like you discuss the hot topics in public practice and how they go about navigating the public practice landscape all around the world. So fundamentally, public practice has the same principles, dynamics, and challenges no matter where we are in the world, and we might have some different tax seasons, busy periods, and legislation. But at the core, we are very much the same. So our room this morning is, does your firm really have a client service culture? So I'm going to quickly introduce myself this morning because we've got a few new profiles I can see floating around in Clubhouse, and hello to anyone out there in LinkedIn or Facebook. My name is Linda Steffens, and I'm an accountant, an author, and an introvert. Three things that I am very loud and proud about. And I've been hanging around public practice now for just over 30 years. I've owned a couple of accounting practices myself, but my day-to-day these days is all about helping accountants do better with their business, with their careers, and specifically around advisory conversations and how to have them. And of course, my lovely co-host is with me this morning, Kylie Baxter. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Linda, and good morning to everyone in the room. Everyone sort of ran in all at the same time this morning. So that's lovely. They did. So that's lovely to see. Thank you for joining us. So yes, I think I know several people in the room, but my name's Kylie Baxter. I'm on the tools. I've got a public practice accounting firm here on the Gold Coast in Queensland. And I think our topic for today is timely because I noticed particularly yesterday, we're getting to that pointy end of the calendar year where we're all really ready for a break. Our clients are starting to wind down, think about Christmas parties. Everyone's trying to get everything done. There's deadlines looming. People think that stuff can just get done before Christmas, you know. So client service is a very interesting topic right now. Yeah, and I've seen the points you want to cover today, Linda. Not that Linda and I really talk too much about it prior because we like it to be quite, you know, on the spot for these, but I did have a little stalk on your LinkedIn and I thought, this is going to be an interesting discussion because I don't know if I agree with all of this. So let's get stuck into it, shall we?
This is even better. So heads up, everyone, we may have some controversial stuff going on, which is what I think Kylie and I are being known for. And, you know, we absolutely do like to keep, this is a CPA discussion group, so it's exactly that. Everybody's opinion and ideas matter, and it's all about really just elevating the accounting industry, in particular public practitioners. So that's what we're about. We don't get too worried about who we think's right or wrong or anything like that. It's really just talking about a topic and exploring it, right, Kylie?
Absolutely. And please, if you are in the Clubhouse room, there is a little chat function. I don't know if I've updated my app or not in the last 30 days, but on my version, it's on the bottom on the left and it looks like a little chat bubble. So you can press that and just put a little comment in there. And if you've got something you want to flag, Linda and I'll discuss it. Alternatively, on the opposite side, there is a microphone. Don't worry, if you turn it on straight away, you won't just automatically speak. Linda has the power to turn you on or off, so just be aware. But we would love you to come and have a chat with us, especially about a topic like client service. That's something that affects every single one of us, regardless of whether you own a firm, work in a firm, have more of a CEO, CFO role. Yeah, we can't get away from clients. They make the world go round.
No, that's exactly right. And I think this is something you can also even extend to your clients to help them with their clients, you know. So this always, whatever you learn can always be extended to help our clients do better at what they do as well. So there's heaps of ways to look at this. So a quick reminder, we are a CPA discussion group, so you can get your PD points for listening in. And as we kick off the conversation, please remember that our intention is always to be positive, supportive and collaborative, even if Kylie and I disagree.
I will try very hard to be positive today. I promise.
Come together in support of our amazing industry, no matter where we are in the world. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be good. Okay, so does your firm really have a client service culture? So to be able to create the best possible client experience, or team members in your firm, employees, management, leadership, really have to be on board with this, really have to know what you mean by that. So is it about relentlessly pursuing and refining how you serve clients? Do you need to act with humility and pride, genuinely wanting to help, even if it's not our job? And are you and your team friendly, helpful, and personal? Or are you relatable? Are you professionally aloof? There's a lot of different ways around how we can think about client service culture. So we are definitely going to get raw and real this morning about what that really means. And I think the first thing to say, certainly from my perspective, is client service culture is a personal thing to me, and I think it's all how you feel about it, how you want your clients treated, perhaps how you would want to be treated. And that might be different for you and for other firms, and what that means. So I think it's worth investigating or talking about to start with.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. I think we're going to have to break it down, because for me, if I went to a staff member and said, you need to give the best client service ever, to them that could just look like serving the client to the nth degree.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily the best thing for the client or the best thing for us. And so maybe if, Linda, we break those phrases down bit by bit and we'll go through them.
Absolutely. All right. So where do we start, Kylie? Which one should we start with?
Oh, okay. Hang on one second. I'm just making a note. Let's start with relentlessly pursuing and refining how we serve our clients. And I found it really interesting that you used the word relentlessly. Tell me why, when you were did you create this? When someone was creating this, you chose the word relentlessly. Like, obviously you work with a lot of accountants, why did you choose the word relentlessly? Is it because we can't do it haphazardly? We can't just do it sometimes?
That's exactly right. And I think there's a lot of times within the firm that we don't realize that client service is a thing, and we're not realizing that we're impacting how we service clients. So the one example I've got there is when clients aren't in the room. How do you talk about clients when they're not around? Do we whinge about them? Do we grizzle about them? Now, of course, we're going to have frustrations in our everyday working, where clients can just drive us mad. That's okay. But if it's being phrased in an appropriate way, I think that's important. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we don't even realize that we can impact client service. Perhaps when others aren't watching, you're not thinking about it. How do you relentlessly and, I suppose, put all of this together, every single day in what you're doing? So that's why I use the word relentlessly. It's bigger than we think. And also too, I
actually love that.
Yeah, okay. And I think that, if you ask any accounting firm, or certainly when I do, what's it all about? And everyone will tell me, well, it's about our clients, they come first. But then I look at some of the operations, some of the language that gets used, perhaps when clients aren't around from all different levels, and I go, is it really about clients? And it's okay if it's not relentlessly about clients, but I think you've got to be open and honest about that.
I find it interesting that people say clients come first, because I might disagree with that and say that staff come first, because if there's no staff, there's no clients.
That's exactly
but
right.
Equally, if there's no clients, there's no staff. So it's a tricky one, right? I will say, I say we're a relationships-based firm, not a client service firm. And the reason I say relationships-based is because I feel like it keeps it a little bit more real. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to focus on the same common goals. Meet your lodgement deadlines, help your business grow, or if that's what they're individual goals are. You know, you meet with each business and you figure out what their individual goals are. That's what good relationships are. You know what I mean? Some clients want you to hold their hand tightly. Some clients want you to hold their hand loosely. It depends. But today we're talking about client service, and the comment here is relentlessly pursuing and refining how we serve clients. And that's the bit where I think we get tripped up on.
Yeah.
Because people just go, oh, we need to serve our clients. We need to keep them happy.
Yes.
But is keeping clients happy serving clients?
Oh.
Is keeping people happy giving clients the best service?
Absolutely not. And I think that's, oh, look,
I'm just going to check if anyone's disagreed with us. Hang on 1 second. I'll check the chat. No, everyone's quiet.
Down. We're all good. So, well, we'll see. Something might hop up on social media in the next few days. You never know. But no, I don't think it is, Kylie. And I do think that's where, for the most part, the industry can go wrong. You know, and exactly your point that you said, right at the beginning, if you went to one of your team members and said, client service is everything, we must service our clients. So to a team member, that may very well mean just give them everything they want. Now, we know in practice that what clients often want is not what they need. Now, there's a trick in turning it around.
Yes, that's what I wrote down.
It's a trick in turning it around to turn the need into what they want, you know, and that's the space I tend to play in, you know, how to talk about that. But the whole thing is that professionally we have, you know, we need to take due diligence around this and actually take care of our clients in a professional way.
Yeah. And that's, to me, where the service comes in. When clients want what they don't need, or they need something that they don't want, the service part comes in our professional obligation or our service obligation to show them the gap that exists and explain to them the gap that exists. So often this is where we butt heads with our clients. Clients are going, I need my tax, like, let's just use tax returns because it's so simple, right? I need my tax done by the 31st of October because, you know, they were driving to work and the radio told them. So, you know, unless someone says, hey, you're on our lodgement list, so you've actually got till December, March or May to do it, whatever the story is, the client's just going to in their head go, the radio told me 31st of October, I need it done, I need it done, I need it done. So you're just going to get this barrage of communication from the client, I need it done, I need it done, I need it done. So someone in your office, if you've got this client service culture, is going to go, I've got to quickly drop everything and get it done for this client. Whereas actual client service is to give them what they need, which is to go back to them and go, hey, it's okay. You're on our lodgement list. And what the radio didn't tell you is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And the client goes, oh, thanks for explaining that to me. Okay, thanks. So it's developed your relationship and met their expectation.
So educating, explaining, teaching, just taking the time to talk your clients through things that they might not understand. That's client service.
Yeah. And like being real, clients don't understand so much, and that's not their fault.
No, neither should
That's
they.
the fault of our very complex system.
Yes, exactly.
Most accountants don't understand so much, and
No.
that's the fault of our very complex system.
Yes. And, you know, there's a lot put on our shoulders to be able to explain that. And, you know, sometimes you just feel you can speak till you're blue in the face and you can't get a client to understand what you're talking about or why. But if you've developed that relationship-based culture that you've been talking about, Kylie, then they're more likely to listen to you and just accept almost some of the things that you say as fundamentals, right? So, oh, well, Kylie said that, I'm going to do it, you know.
Or whoever said that. Like, that's the other thing. When we're talking about client service, and I loved that you talked about relentlessly pursuing and everyone has to be on board. It has to be an all-in approach. So it doesn't have to be, you know, in my firm, Kylie, it doesn't have to be the owner of the business has to get involved. It can be the client services person. It can be the junior accountant. It can be, you know, it doesn't have to be the manager or the business owner that has to get involved on probably more of an administrative matter. it can be someone else that can communicate this with the client and they'll accept it, because everyone is trained in how to deal with clients in these matters. So I think this is where I think as accountants, and you're best to speak about this, Linda, we get quite uncomfortable. Yes. You know, really, we're not trained in this. You know, we go to uni, we do our postgrad, like it's all very, well, here's how you technically deliver this, and here's the legislation, and da 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 da. We're not told, well, here's how you deal with clients. Yes. That's the bit that's missing. Yes. Who teaches you how to deal with clients? So unless you get a really good mentor, or you end up in one of your first or second or maybe third jobs where someone sits you down and goes, the way you're speaking to clients isn't right, or you're clever enough to listen to other people and go, oh, maybe I should model that behaviour, you miss it. Yes. Client service is learned behaviour.
Yes. And to be honest, that way of that technical delivery suits for the majority of us our profiles and our communication styles. So it's not necessarily a natural thing that comes to us. We don't even necessarily think along that lines. We think we are doing the right thing and we are doing the best job of you know, what we need to tell clients in the way that we know how. But yes, who teaches you to do that? Well, I do. But, you know, it's all about, you know, there's different ways of doing that. And that's something I think as an accounting industry going into the future, we need to look at a whole lot more closely. And there's great ways to develop those relationships. If that's not something that just comes naturally to you, or you've not even seen it anywhere, you've not seen anyone in your past model that sort of behaviour.
100%. And we as accountants are used to dealing with numbers. You know, we're not used to dealing with feelings. So I'm going to use tax returns again because they're just the simplest thing. You know, you can get a client in, they've got this tax return, it might be a high wealth individual, and they end up payable, probably because they've done something weird with crypto because it's 2022 and that's the thing that's annoying me the most this year. And they've got no idea because they did this crypto thing and they don't understand it and they have no idea what's going on. So they've got this unexpected payable. Now, do you just send it out, or should we talk to them about it? Now, that's going to be an uncomfortable conversation because they're not expecting it. They didn't do anything. They didn't understand what they were doing. And in fact, they didn't really understand why we were asking for the information when we asked for it.
Right, in the first place. Exactly.
So we've had to, and we've all had to do this, right? Train our people on how to have these difficult conversations with clients, but that's client service. Because if you don't warn a client about what's coming, they're going to be upset with us. And it's not our fault. We've done it properly, accurately, technically correctly.
It's far worse if you ignore it. And funnily, you talk about difficult conversations. We've got a whole series of difficult conversation topics coming up. And I was just filming the little snippets for that yesterday. And I was talking about we don't want to have them. They're in our face. You know, we do our best to avoid them. But we all know that when we avoid them, then it's the worst case scenario because it'll come back to bite you in the proverbial. So, you know, now that's interesting, isn't it? We're talking about client service, which would seem to be a positive thing, great thing to do. And we've aligned it now with difficult conversations. That's amazing. I love that. So it's all about doing the right thing by the client. Now, we know what the right thing is, even though it might feel a bit icky to us. Right.
Well, it's client service is what clients need, not always what they want. Not only what they want is what I'll say. It's what they need, not only what they want. Yeah.
So how do we start to dribble once we've got this concept of what client service is? And I think that's something, as I said at the start, you need to investigate for yourself. What does that mean? And, you know, there's a whole lot of different parts of your business that, you know, you'd have to think about that in a slightly different way. But how do we start to dribble this down then through all of our team members? Because everyone needs to be on board. So if we started at the top, what do we need to do at the top? Or who needs to do? Everyone needs to be doing it at the top. You know, that's where it starts. A fish rots from the head down. We know that. So if you're not even doing it, then we've got a bit of a problem because, the number one rule in leadership is that you can't ask anybody else to do something you're not willing to do yourself. So you've got to be modeling this behavior. And if you've decided that client service is about having this relationship with your clients and telling them, explaining to them what it is that they really need, hopefully turning that into what they want, then, your other team members will follow through once they see that happening. But you have to start.
Yeah, I think it's about creating a workplace culture of the way your view of client services, because every workplace is going to have a different view on how they want to service their clients. Do they want to have relationships with their clients, or do they want it to be more transactionally based? Everyone is going to be completely different depending on the way their firm runs. But the most important thing is that everyone is all in, because if you've got, let's say, one accountant that does it one way and all the other accountants are the other way, then if somebody gets that one accountant one year, they're going to go, oh no, that was a bad experience. Might not have been a bad experience. It was just a different experience. So that's why you need to make sure everyone's all in.
So, and when we talk about, having people all in, the only way that you can really do that is to be open to everyone's opinions and ideas and to have a discussion around that. So again, you can't be 100% sitting up on your ivory throne and going, this is how we're going to do stuff, because that's not going to work. When you tell people what to do, guess what happens? They often want to just do the opposite. So, I don't recommend that approach. So you might want to prepare and work out a little bit around what you think it should be, but then go and have a discussion with your team members, go and talk to them. What does client service mean to you? Because again, I guarantee this is on a lot of accountants' websites. Client service is number one, or some type of statement around client service. So we should all know what this means to us, shouldn't we?
Yeah. If it's something that you want to make a change to or you want to review, I would treat it like any change management piece, and I would do consultation. So I'd consult with your staff, and I would consult with a variety of clients about what their expectations are, their key desires as well. And then I'd marry the two up, think about what you really want for the vision of your firm, and then I'd have a team meeting and say, right, this is the direction that I want to go in, and really make it clear what the negotiables are and what the non-negotiables are. And then
wow, what do you mean we're going to talk to our clients? Isn't that a bit scary, and ask them what they think? No?
No, you know what? I do it quite often, and I do it by, I'm a bit wimpy sometimes. Yeah. I will just survey them by Google Forms, yes. Because that's not wimpy. There's a few reasons I do it by, and I say Google Forms, I'm lying. We're Office 365 users, but I don't know why I say that. It's a fail plug for the wrong company, but let's move on quickly. So I just use a form because that way it's easy for me to compress the data. Do you know what I mean? Then I've just got the data. It's really simple. I know how it is. Whereas if I'm having conversations with people, I know myself that I can perceive the information incorrectly, or I don't know what they're going to say. What if I get emotional about it? Not that I'd cry, but what if I take it the wrong way, or I'm offended by it or something? I want the client to feel like they can say whatever they want to say. So that's why I use a pro forma.
Yeah. And so, yes, because it's not quite as confronting as you just ringing up and going, hey, how did we do,
Tell me how bad we were.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're probably not going to do that. No, and if they do, then they might make you cry, and that might be very nice either.
Well, it's highly unlikely either way. But sometimes I think if you ring, they're more likely to say more. And sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, well, clearly we've done that. That's not the normal way.
Yeah.
And then all you can do is apologize for human error.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not enough. So.
No, that's exactly right. So you take that information and, like you just said, marry it all up in consultation with those that have to, all of your team that have to
stakeholders
this client service, and actually put some definition and some structure around it. So it shouldn't be loosey-goosey because, you know, that's just client service. What is it? Well, we've been able to talk, we've been going for 25 minutes now already, and we've got plenty more to say about client service. So just saying client service, as you rightly pointed out at the beginning, Kylie, is not enough. You've actually got to explain what that means in the context of everyone's day-to-day life, and that will be slightly different for everybody.
It will be. And I think also the reason that I really like to follow a strategy or a specific plan when we're doing change management, particularly something as sensitive as client service, because there will be staff in your team that are quite passionate about the way they deal with clients, and you'll have staff in your team that are over servicing clients that they're going to need to pull back. Like it's awkward and difficult. You need to be able to say, that's not what our clients want, or this is what our clients want and this is how you do it, so that it's not just this is what I want or this is what we have decided. You know, you need to be able to point to fact and data, and that's very helpful when you're moving through change.
And so we've been talking about this. Obviously, client service is a people-focused thing to be thinking about. It's a communication thing. It can be very personable. But I think also, too, what we've been doing here a little bit is thinking about the business approach to this. Why should we have a client service culture, and what should it mean? And what does that mean for our actual business operations? Because, you know, the whole thing is, and I think I said somewhere in my social media posts during the week, but if you're so busy over servicing these clients, you know, thinking you're doing the right thing, that you actually don't have the time or the energy to actually be nice or be friendly or be helpful, well, then the whole lot just unravels, doesn't it?
Deck of cards.
Yeah.
It's a deck of cards, exactly. And I think that's what I'm seeing right now as we get to the end of the year. You know, tensions are fraying, everyone's almost done, everyone's ready for a holiday, be it accountants, business owners, staff, everyone's just done. And here in Queensland, we're having another little COVID spike.
Yes.
So no one can work. So that's great.
Yes. Even better.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just all happening, and I think that's when you really need to reinforce and fall back on, well, hang on, what is our policy, or where do we stand on our relationships base client service? You know, what do we do here?
And so I know that, you know, I have been talking about that this might look different through other accounting firms. And I know, Kylie, that you've had the experience of having some new team members on board and them actually commenting around how your relationship-based approach works with clients, and that they had not seen that before.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So I will say that I had a debrief with one of them on Monday, and they did use the word weird. And I say that
in such a very nice way.
Yeah, no, it was in a positive way. I did clarify, but I was a bit like, no, they said it was weird, and they used that term because it is something that they hadn't seen in their last two jobs.
Yes.
Not that client service has not been at the forefront for them. It certainly has. But I think the way we do it is different. So I'll give you the example.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that we do when client work comes in, we will review it quite thoroughly, and we will give them a fee quote, and then we'll tell them when we're going to get back to them with queries.
Yes.
So we don't get clients calling us saying, when's my work going to get done? Have you got it? Has you got it? Like, and for us, that works really, really well because we get no comms of clients going, where's my work? Have you got it? When is it going to get done? Who's working on it? Like, it cuts down all the noise, and it's in our control. Yes. We manage it. We dictate to them, this is where we're at. And you know, sometimes we're getting client work in now that we're saying, we'll talk to you in January. Thank you. Talk to you in January. And clients go, okay, thanks. Have a nice Christmas.
Yes.
So whereas if we just said nothing and it was radio silence, I've got no doubt that we'd hear from them 4 or 5 times between now and January. And probably while I was trying to enjoy a Christmas cocktail at Christmas.
Which is not what you want to be hearing from clients wondering where their tax returns are.
And that would make me irate.
So, yeah, sorry.
And they're just not used to that. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, it feels, on one hand, it feels quite like we're doing a lot of work on the upfront side.
Yes.
But on the other hand, it's really great client service because they know where they're at and they just leave it alone. Like, it's just unheard of.
But I think right in that one example there, Kylie, you've just shown how you said, is staff really number one or clients really number one? And I think there's the balance between the two. So what you've been able to do there is to proactively get the result that you want to get from clients, which is, where's my work? Where's my work? Has it started yet? You know, all of this interruptive type things that can seem very confrontational after a time, and people not knowing how to answer those questions. So you've almost headed most of that off at the pass, you know, by this process that you have in place. And I suppose that would have taken some time to get that in place.
Yeah, so we probably changed that, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know, I lose track of time. A long time ago, and pretty much it stopped overnight. Like, as soon as we started communicating with clients on an upfront basis, it stopped. And at first there was a transition period where clients would still email and say, just checking in. And our response is very politely, very professionally, you know, as per our prior email, we will come back to you on this date and we are on track. And then we'd assure them we are on track to adhere to this. Yeah. And you know what? Stuff happens. Like, I've had staff sick and you know, and if we can't meet our deadline, I email them, or one of my other staff email them, and we say, we're so sorry, this has happened. And I make, you know, like, we apologize, but I don't apologize if they get upset, and no one really gets upset. But sickness happens, you know, other stuff happens in our lives. We're just honest and upfront. So we're relationship based. We're honest and upfront. Stuff happens.
So there's a few things in that then too, if we align this back to client service. So client service can mean difficult conversations. It definitely means communication. It definitely means education. And it can actually mean what seems to maybe being a bit bossy about when they can talk to us and when they can't. Yes, you, Kylie Baxter. You know, it can seem a bit. At no point did this staff member of yours say that you were unfriendly or you were rude, or
no.
Don't get upset about how you handle this.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Because we give clients what they need, not necessarily what they want. Like, if I said to my clients, what would you all like? They'd say, oh, we'd like our tax returns and our business financials and our QBCC all done within about, maybe, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, July,
is that doable? Sure. Like, or could you do it without us giving you any stuff? Or, if my bank asks for it, could you just give us some drafts, even if we don't give you stuff? Like, you can't give people what they want because it's crazy. We can't make stuff up.
No. And you don't have magic wands either. No. That's exactly right.
I keep looking for one.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's like the money tree. We'll keep looking for that too. So this is interesting, breaking down client service into something that maybe felt like just giving clients what they want, to turning it completely around. So actually getting on the front foot from what does it mean for your business? How should your business work? And putting processes in place that will support that in a client service friendly way. But being firm with them, having some difficult conversations, supporting your team. What do we need to actually have happen with regard to how we're servicing clients? To make sure that everything runs efficiently, because it's not always just about that 10% of clients that might be the noisy, squeaky wheels either.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We need to make sure that we're being fair, and we're all internally making sure that we're using our time effectively as well. So I think, Linda, you've sort of moved on to that next point, which is acting with humility and pride. Look, that's really difficult, and I don't want to move away from, I know we're doing that series on difficult conversations moving up. I think one of the things that I do a lot of coaching with my team on is, and I've had this conversation in the last week, so it's really, really weird that this has come up, about sometimes as accountants, we can be a little bit too nice to our clients. Like, yes, client, I'll do that. Yes, client, I'll do that. I'm probably the opposite, to be fair, or unfair as it might be, whereas I'll just say, oh, no, unacceptable, no, you're asking too much. And that's probably just my years of experience and knowledge of what we can do and what we can't do and being real about it, whereas staff don't have that full picture. So they're more yes people, and also the authority to say no. So I've seen some staff over the years make some ridiculous promises, like, oh, I'm so sorry, my bank needs this by Friday, can you do it? Yes, we'll do it. We don't even have the stuff.
Exactly.
When are they going to get us the stuff? Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
No, and I think sometimes, yes, we need to act with humility and pride, but it goes both ways. And sometimes we need to take pride in the work that we do. We cannot take pride in the work that we do if we're in ridiculous turnaround times, and that means saying no.
Yes. And being absolutely resolute about that. Like, there will always be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you need to exercise that muscle, the no muscle, to be able to do that. And, for the most part, your clients will accept that when it is delivered with humility and empathy and all of those things, and they won't even question you.
And with appropriate explanation and education. And one of the other things that I don't think our industry does well is we don't charge appropriately for urgent matters.
Yes.
And that is why we're all overworked and probably slightly burnt out over the last few years.
Yes, absolutely. So I think, it is very much, I've just reminded me that little conversation about a firm I was working with a couple of years ago, and we were talking about their vision and mission and their strategic foundation and forming that for them. And we got down to their values, and they had realized that they had not been particularly proactive with their clients. They had been very much reactive, thinking that giving them what they want is a good client service culture. And they realized that it had just burned them out from the inside out, and they'd gotten themselves and their team in a position where it was not a great place to be. And so they recognized that, and their one value that they talked about, they only had one, and it was to be resolute. So once they decided what the rules of their game were, what did client service mean to them, then they had to be resolute about that and to lead from the top. So, there's a bit of work that goes into this. And I think our natural thing is to look at, all this work I've got to do, and you sit there and you plug it away thinking that's the right thing to be doing. But if we never think about things in a different way and change how we're going about things, then nothing's going to change. That's the definition of insanity, right?
Right. Roy has asked, do we have a particular manner in how we say no to a client? Linda, do you coach the accounting firms on how to deal with that at all?
I certainly can, and it, is something that I'm happy to have a chat about at any particular point in time. When you want to have these conversations with clients, the first thing that I would recommend anybody doing is ask some questions. Because what we try and do is we try to jump in and answer straight away when we actually haven't got the full picture yet. So I can think of an example that I just seemingly used to do when I was back in practice, and someone would ring me up. I didn't have your great process in place, Kylie, at that time. And someone would ring me up and go, oh, my tax has been in there for a little while now. Have you started it? And the answer often was no. And I would always coach my team to be honest, to say, no, I haven't started it. Did you need it for something? So immediately the client goes, oh, no, it's just checking in. Okay, then, well, I've just had a look. I've looked at our schedule. Here's when I think we can come back to you. And I suppose that part process that you're talking about kicked in at that point. So what I would suggest, Roy, is asking questions. Why do you need it? Why are you asking? What's this about? To enable you to think about and put together an answer, some education, some explanation about why you might have to say no. So that's where I'd go with that, Kylie. I don't know what you would suggest.
For more direct questions like, can you help me with this right now? I'm stuck or I've forgotten to tell you, or I thought that blah, blah, blah. I'll just be really honest and say, if I could do this for you, I would.
There you go.
I can't.
But I can't. Yeah, that's just not going to work. And then I'd imagine that you offer the next best solution. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We can assist you. No, go away now, please. No, I don't say that. Often. I won't say I've never said that, but not often. No. And then we say, I can assist you here, or would you like me to speak to the bank and see if this would be sufficient, or da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's not because, and I think the thing is, when clients ask us things like this, they actually don't know what they need. They're just thinking that's what they need. But then when you explain, you know what, I'll talk to the bank or I'll talk to the ATO. I'm sure we can arrange something that fits with how I can get it done for you, and also covers off the issue that you're trying to deal with as well. They want you to solve the problem. They don't want you to immediately respond to exactly what they've just asked you. They don't know actually how to ask you or how to investigate. So that's why I'll always say lead with questions. Don't immediately get into trying to answer it, because you simply do not have enough information to actually answer it 9 times out of 10. Yeah. Okay, great question, Roy. Thank you. All right. So client service, where do we need to go with this then, Kylie? I think we've are your team friendly, relatable, helpful, professionally aloof? All right, let's talk about, we get a whole lot of different personalities in accounting, right? Some people are more loquacious, let's say. They're happily talking to clients. They don't mind having a chat. Others are really like, oh gosh, that's just the worst thing. I don't want to be doing that. I'd rather be just sitting there doing my work. How do we deal with the different team members, and the different personalities that we might have in our office with regards to client service?
So I use a very old McDonald's term quite often called aces in their places. Really choose your team wisely and tell your reception or your client services team who to direct what calls to. So, for example, if there's certain bookkeeping questions and you know that you've got a really gun person that knows all about that in the team, who's great with clients, super friendly, put that call through to them. Because automatically happening is your receptionist or your client services team go, oh, Sally's on the phone. Who looks after Sally's work? Looks up who did their tax and puts them through to John. And John goes, oh, payroll, debit, wages, credit, blah, blah, blah. Because John's an accountant and he doesn't care about her Xero file. Whereas Sally goes, no, but I need to give them a pay slip. And there's this disconnect. I think it's really about making sure that you're putting the right person with the right client for the right item. So make sure you're training the people on the phone to connect the right people at the right time. And really go through your team and identify their skill sets and who wants to talk to clients and who doesn't. Now, if you've got people in your team that don't want to talk to clients, you've got two choices. Make them, or pair them with somebody, pair them with someone that's going to be happy to. I quite like, I have done both. One of my staff, I have made them, and it's been an absolute success story, but they've been totally out of their comfort zone and have come for the better of it, and they're super proud of themselves, and it was just a fear factor. Some people just won't, though. They just won't. They're not interested. They just won't. And it's not worth your time or your money as far as losing that billing hours. So if you pair them with someone and they're willing to be paired with someone that will speak to clients, but they have to have those two people have to have a relationship. So there's no disconnect of lack of understanding, knowledge of the jobs, those sorts of things. So that would be my recommendation as far as getting that professionalism of across the board.
Yeah. I'd like to, you mentioned the fear factor in there. I'd love talking about the fear factor when it comes to talking with clients and the mindset of asking questions and how you communicate and converse with clients. And I think for the most part, I see a lot of it. I see a lot of this is fear-based, and we get a lot of people in a category goes, no, I don't want to talk to clients, but it is entirely that. It is very much, I'm worried that I won't do it well. I'm worried that I might say something wrong and I'll get it wrong. So that's our perfectionism, that's there. We're high performers. We like to do things right. We don't want to upset anybody. So with that can come a whole heap of fear. And what's always worst is the unknown. You will fear the unknown before, so much more than what really the reality is. So what you just said about pairing someone up so that they can, number one, hear the conversations, joint meetings, or come just listen to me. I'm going to have that conversation. Just listen to what I say, and model the behavior, I think, so you can at least take away the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. I think across the profession, this is actually quite a heightened issue right now, not only because we've got people in our industry that genuinely don't want to speak to clients, but we've got people in our industry that are happy to speak to clients, but they've swapped camps maybe 1 or 2 times in the last 2 or 3 years. So they don't know how it's done at the particular firm they're working at. So they don't want to overstep. They don't know what the policy or procedure is. They're still learning. So they're really scared to tell the client the wrong thing, not technically, but the wrong thing as far as the policy or procedure of the current firm they're working in. So that just exacerbates the issue. So I think the buddy system works really well in this situation.
And so that goes right back to what we started with at the very start of our chat this morning was communication, working out what client service means to your firm and actually communicating it. You can't just say it once. It's an ongoing thing. And, the client service, it's not just about doing it, it's having the culture, which is a whole lot deeper and far-reaching than the actual doing of what you're doing. So I think thinking about that in that way and talking about it on a regular basis as a team is a really important thing to do. Cool. Okay. Any last minute, is there any questions? Does anyone have any other questions for us? Or anything that they'd like to say about client service. If you do, let us know. But I think we'll start to wrap up. Kylie, is there anything else you wanted to say about client service?
No, just the client service is very individual. And I think that that's probably the disconnect. I think people think client service is just client service, keep them happy, do the right thing by them and it'll all be good. And I just don't buy into that. I think that's a real generalization. So client service is whatever works for you and your clients. And just exactly what we said at the beginning, it's not what they want, it's actually what they need. The best client service is giving clients what they need.
And so that's my biggest
Thanks to everyone in the room today. Great group.
Absolutely. And that's my biggest takeaway is client service is not about giving clients what they want. It's about giving them what they need and our, professional judgment in that and our duty of care to them in order to make sure that they understand what's important. So we're professionals. We need to lead the way in this and we most certainly can do that. So I hope you all enjoyed the room this morning talking about client service and what it is and what it isn't and all those good things that we chatted about. Okay, next week. What are we talking about next week? Oh, here's what we're talking about next week. Wednesday, 23rd of November, 7 a.m. We'll be back here again, leading the discussion. Are you a partner in a public practice firm without a succession plan? Oh my gosh, I've seen a few meetings over just recently, and have got plenty of war stories to tell you. So, you know, this is something that we should all be thinking about. It's a bit like that good old nugget about what's the best time to put a business plan in place. And it was the day you started your business. So it's almost the same with a succession plan. And so that's what we'll be chatting about next week. So
can't wait.
Thanks, Kylie. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank
I hope you have an awesome day.
Thanks, Linda. Talk to you next week.
See you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.